Hello. If we can please try to quiet it down a little bit. Let's make our way to our seats. And Holsty, if you want to grab the doors.
You don't even know. You gotta read this one.
Hello.
Oh, some about it. Do you want to read it first?
It's the last thing.
If you guys, I know it's, we have a lot of people here. If you want to turn your chairs around, at least maybe not while I'm talking, but later on, so you can face up here. And then I know there's some people in every crowd. If you turn your cell phones to high instead of turning them off, so when they go off, everyone knows who to throw out of the room. So if you can take care of the cell phones, that would be great. Toppy, can you sit down? Toppy. All right, we're going to get started with the preamble. Good evening. Good evening, thank you. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Joel Graff. Thank you. Feel free, you can interrupt at any time. I would like to welcome you to the third annual Columbus United Siyum Hatorah. Now, before we get started, I can't tell you the coincidence that I had. Last week, as some of you, I stream a lot of video, TV. It's kind of like my hobby, between like 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. And I was watching one of my favorite video series online. It wasn't Fauda, or Shnizzle, or Sragim. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but those are awesome. But the one I was watching is on this website called aish.com. Is anybody familiar with that website? So maybe you've been there, maybe you saw this show. So there's this show, and you get on it, and there's a guy sitting at a desk. And these people ask him questions, and he answers them. He's made a show out of it. It's called a hashtag, the Ask Charlie Show. Now, how odd is it that there's a guy here named Charlie? And if you get up to the episodes where I'm at, episode 6, there's a episode, it's called What You Should Do or How to Prepare for Public Speaking, essentially. And it was just so timely that that would come up on my screen last week before Captain Steve even asked me to be here. And turn it on, there's Charlie behind the desk. First question comes up, it's from Joel. And I'm like, how ironic is that? Now, the only irony was that it was Joel from Michigan. As an Ohio State Buck, I would never have asked how to prepare for public speaking. All right, so I digress a little bit here. I know most of these Kollel rabbis are probably too young to remember, but for those of us, oh God, I put myself in that group. For the people that are a little bit more mature, I don't know if that people remember Admiral James Stockdale, Vietnam War hero, most notably a vice presidential candidate who, in the debate, got up on TV, kind of like I'm doing right now, and looked out at millions of people. And he says, who am I? Why am I here? I have been struggling with that same exact question now since Tuesday. I have no idea why I'm here. I have no idea why I was selected to be here. I'm pretty sure it might have something to do with being picked. We had the raffle 2 months ago. And Hirschfield's won it. I think they pick out every ticket. The last ticket gets a consolation prize, and our ticket was picked last, so I got to be the MC for the Kollel event. Maybe that's it, maybe that's not it, I don't know. I wrestled with it should have been Joel Markovich up here, maybe they had the wrong Joel. That's a possibility. And then those of you that know me really well frequently give me the honor of Rabbi Graf. And, you know, quite honestly, this is probably as close as I'm going to get to having a pulpit. So if I could be like a congregational rabbi, if anybody dozes off in the next 15 minutes, I know I will be successful. All right. And I'm going to skip that one. Let me begin right now by thanking our hosts who, without their generosity, would not have made this evening possible, or this entire program. Naturally, the Columbus Community Kollel, JewishColumbus, the Jewish Community Center, JCC, if you don't know the acronym, Ashford on Broad, the Reed Property Group, and Chazak. Okay. We thought we might have some senators here, or representatives of the senators, but, you know, between reading the Mueller report and AIPAC, they couldn't make it tonight. So why are we here on the first Sunday of March Madness? By the way, does anybody have the Dukes score? They're playing Central Florida right now? Yeah, you got it. One of the programs, and there are many programs, that the Columbus Community Kollel hosts and started in Columbus. This particular program several years ago, as I mentioned, this is the third one, is a mission study program known as the Columbus United Siyum Hatorah. Participants are paired with Kollel rabbis, ex-Kollel rabbis, alleged Kollel rabbis, and other scholars to learn a Mishnah, or what we know as the oral law, or part of Torah Bal Peh. And after the completion of the Mishnah, or a Maseches, or a tractate, or a book, a volume, we have a Siyum, and this is that Siyum. A lot of times the main attraction of the Siyum is one of my favorites, it's the food. Charlie mentioned to me that's why he was here. He heard the food was going to be good. So this year, Rabbi Hillel Kappenstein embarked on a mission to get as many participants in 614 to begin a journey to study Mishnayos in January. The focus of which is to remember the victims of the tragedy at the Tree of Life congregation in Pittsburgh in October, and to fight anti-Semitism through Torah study. He was extremely successful. The capstoner, as I love when good call Rabbi Kappenstein, in his wonderful acumen on the phone, managed to sucker me in to come into the Kollel to learn some Mishnah. It was kind of described like, Joel, we had this Mishnah thing in 2 weeks, it's 8 o'clock Tuesday, do you think you can make it on Tuesday? And usually doing what I normally do, I agree that it's a possibility and hope to never hear from him again. Then I get a call from Rabbi Kappenstein, like Thursday, right before. I thought, I'm in the clear, it's been 10 days. He goes, yeah, Tuesday, 8 o'clock, are you available? And I'm like, I look at my thing, you know, fine. I have an 8 o'clock slot Tuesday. He's like, that's great, I'll text you just to make sure you come. Perfect. So I get this text from him that says, can't wait to see you. Got you paired with a great rabbi, and Tuesdays at 8 until you finish the Maseches. This is great. And I said, what? I said, you said it was Tuesday at 8. You did not say it was every Tuesday for I don't know how long. My wife goes nuts. She's like, oh great, you have now another way to get out of the house during the week and leave me with the kids. And I said, honey, this is educational. It's total. She goes, what, are you trying to become a rabbi? I'm like, no, I already did that, so don't tell me. So for 12 weeks, we call it Torah Night Tuesday, where people come in and out of the Kollel studying Mishnah. You should have seen Rabbi Morris's face when I showed up the first week. I think he's been trying, how long has the Kollel been here, 20 years? Okay, 24, 25 years, you know. He's been waiting for me to come and study. And, well, I finally made it. I think I don't know what he thought when he saw me there. But it was an inspirational experience for me personally. I think everybody that participated, some people came for 1 week, some people go there all the time. It's something we're going to try to continue. And if you haven't visited the Kollel, participated in a little study program, contrary to what people say, they don't bite, it'll be okay. I'm still here. So, I had the pleasure of being paired with the only Kollel rabbi that has ever tried out for America's Got Talent and the TV show The Voice. He is a world-class singer. Oh, there he is. It's Rabbi Benjamin Weinschneider. I hope I don't get indicted for making that last part up because it is fake news. Sorry about that. Rabbi Winey, as I lovingly call him, and I worked very hard to complete the Seichas Prophets. And we literally just crossed the finish line Thursday. Our kids are at Columbus Torah Academy. We were 2 Mishnayos short, trying to figure out if we're going to get it in right before this, whatever. We pull up our phones. If you don't have the app Sefaria, it has all these Hebrew books and stuff on it. We pulled up the Mishnayos literally in the shul there. We finished the last 2 Thursday. It was wonderful. I honestly want to take a minute to thank you for your friendship, your guidance, and your expertise. And I would like to also ask everyone here if you could join me in wishing Rabbi Weinschneider a happy birthday. Isn't that nice? Happy birthday to you. Rabbi, I got a cake up here. Happy birthday to you. Oh, you guys are great. If you don't come and get it, it ends up in your face. I mean,
Sign of Ruth Abrusa.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
Thank you. Thank you for wonderful singing. So, as I mentioned, this historic initiative, this historic evening wrapped up. It's dedicated to the memory of our Jewish brethren made victims in the tragedy of Pittsburgh last fall. This event, this whole thing coming together is truly remarkable. We had over 200 members of our Columbus Jewish community joining together to study Mishnah in the memory of those we lost on that day, and hopefully with Hashem's blessing, we will be elevating their souls. We had men, women, and even children coming together as one, united as Jews, fighting anti-Semitism not with physical retaliation, but through Torah study. All levels of observance, affiliated, unaffiliated, all levels of knowledge and education, we all came together. And tonight we are now here to celebrate because we did it. At this time, I would like to ask the capstoner, Rabbi Hillel Kabenstein, to share a few remarks.
Thank you, Joel. So this evening tonight is a little bittersweet as we do remember the victims of the Tree of Life Synagogue, and at the same time we juxtapose that to the amount of unity that was brought together from this community. It was really truly remarkable. I have to say that we have thankfully about 250 participants. Only 270 or so were asked to participate. So Columbus is batting close to 1,000 in terms of Torah study, and that's really remarkable. concept of Siyum, completing some Torah study, and then coming together for a celebration, started just a couple years ago with 40 members of our community. Last year, we went to 110 or so, and we see the room tonight. We're very privileged to have over 200 people here. And if you think about that type of growth, I'm not in stocks, I'm not investment. One of my chavrusos here, Don Varlikov, he knows a little bit more about investments and finance than I do, but that's quite a return. You put it starting with 40, and just 2 years later, you're at 250. I think Columbus has to feel very proud of ourselves that we were able to come this far in just such a short span of time. Our MC tonight, Joel Graff, I did not know he had this side to him, to be honest with you. I do look forward to meeting you in softball in just a few short weeks, I think. But to be honest with you, Joel is actually the perfect guy here, because Joel came to the Kollel weekly, 12 weeks in a row, to make sure that he finished. And there was actually 1 week where he came on Tuesday, then I saw him there again on Thursday. I'm like, wow, I'm doing something right. And Joel, it's now twice a week, and Joel said, well, no, I'm going to be missing next week. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss or get behind, so I came here on Thursday. And Joel sets an example for a working dad who's got family at home, who's got a long day job, but still he makes time to come to the Kollel, he makes time to study Torah, and that's tremendous. And we're very thankful that he's here to set that example, and for all of you coming together. And Joel, please continue. Thank you, everyone.
How very nice that was. Thank you. Joyce Feinberg, Richard Godfrey, Rose Mallinger, Jerry Rabinowitz, Cecil Rosenthal, David Rosenthal, Bernice Simon, Sylvan Simon, Daniel Stein, Melvin Wax, Irving Younger. Yehiel Zichron Livracha. May their memory be a blessing. These are the victims of that tragic day last October. I know we were all shocked, scared, and grief-stricken as the news of this anti-Semitic attack at an American synagogue next door to us in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania unfolded. We are truly honored and privileged this evening to have Rabbi Dr. Michael Curran, the nephew of the late Joyce Feinberg, joining with us this evening. I understand that Dr. Curran embarked, Rabbi Curran embarked, on a mission to study Mishnah along with us. And we're going to have the privilege of sharing his completion in just a few moments. At this point, I would like to invite Dr. Curran to share with us a few words about what he and his family have been going through. Please welcome Rabbi Dr. Michael Curran.
Thank you all very much for having me and inviting me to participate in this fantastic event. It is really an honor for us to be here, and we're extremely impressed with what you guys have been able to accomplish. We're so grateful that your community has decided to dedicate this program to the memory of our Aunt Joyce Feinberg and the other 10 Pittsburgh victims. Auntie Joyce, as we called her, was a big proponent of community togetherness and the idea of hundreds of people coming together, not only to connect to Torah and Judaism, but doing so in a way that brings people together, I think is a fabulous tribute to her memory. Just so that you can have a small glimpse of the kind of person she was, I wanted to share a few short anecdotes. What made her special, of course, was not just that she was a victim in this tragedy, but how she lived her life in a way that continues to inspire us. She had a few qualities in particular that stood out among the others. Family was of extreme importance to her, and she would regularly extend herself just to make sure everybody was comfortable, but even more so to make sure that everyone in her family was well taken care of. When we first moved to Pittsburgh, our house wasn't ready yet by the time I was scheduled to start residency, and so I lived in her apartment for the first few weeks. Of course, she filled her house with kosher food for me, and she was extremely detail-oriented. Every single appliance and piece of furniture in the house was equipped with a sticky note explaining exactly what it was and how to use it, just to make sure I would be able to make the most use out of her apartment. She even kept a stash of paper and plastic goods for any time we would come over. And in fact, when the caterer came over during the Shiva to deliver food, he found a plastic bag of serving utensils still in the kitchen, of course with a little sticky note on it that said, unopened, still kosher. She performed acts of kindness without any fanfare on a daily basis. Every Friday afternoon, she would go shopping to pick up extra groceries for us, and then afterwards spend the afternoon helping my wife Devorah cook for Shabbos. There was never a need she wouldn't fill, and it was always behind the scenes. I can't tell you how many times we left her to babysit, and then come home, and after she had left, without saying a word, we would find all the laundry folded, the dishes washed, and the garbage taken out. One time she visited my in-laws in Toronto and stayed in their basement, and after she left once again without saying a word, they discovered a new bottle of shampoo in the basement bathroom. When they asked her, it turned out that they had run out of shampoo in the basement. And this may seem trivial, but most guests probably would have just asked their host to borrow some extra shampoo from upstairs. But with Auntie Joyce, anytime she saw a need, she took it upon herself to just fill it. And this is not, of course, to mention all the many things that she did for her own children and grandchildren. She truly lived a life of chesed, and she was one of the most purely good people I have ever met. May we all try our best to live by her inspiring example. With time, as we got further away from the actual tragedy, though, we have been able to take a step back from our personal grief and think more about the community and public aspects of the tragedy. Of course, we wish it didn't have to be this way, but we do recognize that we are getting something that most people who experience a loss never do. Her death and that of the others has not been forgotten, even months later. Events and programs are being dedicated to their memory, and we are still getting chances to speak about her even months after her death. All of that is so touching and especially comforting to us. And we've been able to see that even in her death, she continues to inspire people to do good things. People are doing more chesed. People are trying to fight anti-Semitism and fight hate in general. I really admire all of the positive responses that different communities have had to this tragedy. And again, I want to specifically thank all of you for being a large part of that. I'm now going to make the Siyum. This is on the last book in the last Mishnah of the last book of the Mishnah, called Maseches Uktzin. And the Mishnah says as follows. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rabbi Joshua ben Levi said, Atid HaKadosh Baruch Hu lehanfil l'kol tzadik v'tzadik shalosh meos ve'asara olamos. That in the future, in the end of days, God is going to provide as an inheritance to each righteous person 310 worlds. Shneimar lehanfil ohavai yesh ve'otzroseim amalei. Because it says in the book of Proverbs that I will give or bequeath to those who love me substance, and I will fill their storehouses also with substance. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Chalifta, Rabbi Simon ben son of Chalifta said, Lo matzah Kadosh Baruch Hu kli machzik bracha liYisrael ela hashalom. That of all things, God found that the best vessel to hold blessing for the Jewish people was peace. Shene'amar Adonai ozlam oiten Adonai v'rei kasemo v'shalom. That God gives strength to His people, and He will bless His people with peace. Sleep Maseches Uktzin, Nishlam Seder Taurus, Hadron Lakshita Sidrei Mishnah. Hadron Lakshita Sidrei Mishnah, V'Hadar Chalan, Daitan Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, V'Daitan Chalan, Lo Nit Nashem Minach Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, V'Lo Tit Nashem Minach, Lo B'Amad Hadin, V'Lo B'Amad Da'ati, Hiratzom Efanecha, Lo Hinu V'Hei Apotenu, Shetahe Torah Sag, Umanutenu, V'Olam Hazeh, Tzahi Imanu, V'Olam Haba. Fanina Bar Papa, Rami Bar Papa, Nachum Bar Papa, Achai Bar Papa, Mary Bar Papa, Racham Bar Papa, Rachish Bar Papa, Surka Bar Papa, Ada Bar Papa, Daru bar papa. Hareb na Adonai Eloheinu et Yivrei Toracha b'pinu v'yot amcha b'Yis Yisrael v'niyat anachnu tzitzainu v'tzitzayim amcha b'Yis Yisrael kulam yodei shmecha v'lomdei Toratacha lishma. V'ayvaytzu hakmini mitzvosacha kilalam hi libi tamim v'kach laman lo avosh olam lo ashkat laman lo avosh olam lo ashkat v'yudach akivam kitani. Baruch atah Adonai lamdeni v'kacha amen 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 salav v'ed. Modim anachnu l'fanecha Eloheinu v'levotina shesamtach l'kinim yashrei b'is midrash. ולא שמת תקינים יש בקרנה, שאנו משקיעים והם משקיעים, אנו משקיעים לדברי תורה והם משקיעים לדברים בטלים. אנו עמלים והם עמלים, אנו עמלים ומקבלים שכר, הם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר. אנו רצים והם רצים, אנו רצים לחיל המבא והם רצים לבאר שחת. שנאמר ויצא אלוהים תורידם לבאר שחת, אנשי דמים ומרמה לא יקצו ימיהם, ואני אבטח בה. יהי רצון לפניך, אדוני אלוהי, Shem she'azartani l'sayem, shisha sikri mishnah, ken she'azreinu, l'ha'atzpil, masechto, she'sparim ha'kerem, l'sayimam. L'mod l'ameh l'shmor l'sos, l'kayem, l'skot divrei talmud toratacha, v'yahavad, l'skus kol ha'tanayim, v'amarayim, l'talmidei tachamim, ya'amod li l'zari, shalot tamush ha'torah, mipinu mipizarenu, v'zerazarenu ad olam. Kayem banu, v'hitzhalecheta, tanfe otah, v'shokbota tishmor alecha, Hakim Zota he Tisitata, Kiviat, Yerbuya Meta, Biosipa, Tashnos Taim, Orkami, Bimina, Bismola, Osher, Betavod, Adonai Oza, Moitain, Adonai Bereka, Samova Shalom. Yitzkada, Yitzkada, Shmirabah, Yaman, Tizvati, Yitzkadata, Ulakaya, Amikaya, Ulasaka, Yatum, Matai, Oma, Ulamivna, Karta, Yerushalayim. Ula shaklala, hikala begaba, ula me'akar, palchana, nukra'a min ara, ula taba, palchana, di shemaya, la atra, v'yamlit kutsha, v'riku, v'malchute, v'karei, v'chayfan, v'yamkon, v'chaydahu b'it Yisrael, v'adalav izman kari, v'imru amen. Yeshmir amad rachlo, amen, maya, isbarat, v'shabak, isbar, v'ismar, v'isnasei, v'isadav, 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 shmir, kutsha, v'riku, le'elam, v'kol, v'masav, v'shira, sashir, v'masav, v'nacham, Israel Rabbanan Bel Tamidei Hamokot Tamidei Tamidei Dom Bel Koman Daskim Berait as you are Radim with you will cause the Rat Ari Hilvan Lafon Summer Rabbakin of a piece of Rat Amin with Tain of Ritin. It was only Rubik the Pranamin Kadam Kundi Vishmayavi Amen. Hishlam Arabim Shamaya Kamalina Bel Israel Amen. Asa Shalom Ramavi Asa Shalom Alina Bel Israel Amen.
Okie doke. Our star speaker tonight. In case you missed one of the 800 texts, emails, posts, or social media shares or messages from Rabbi Kappenstein, is Charlie Harari, ESQ, Esquire. Mr. Charlie Harari is a business executive, author, prolific speaker, known internationally for his charismatic, passionate, and sophisticated lectures, seminars, and keynote addresses. I can go on and on about his accomplishments. He has this best-selling book, Unlocking Greatness. You can sign it later. He's currently the CEO of Avon Point Group, an investment advisory company based in New York. Has experience with RXR Realty, a multi-billion-dollar real estate company. JD from Columbia Law School, yada, yada, yada. Very accomplished young man. 5.5 years ago, Columbus began participation in the JWRP Women's Trip, the Jewish Women's Renaissance Project Momentum Trip, which is an event that is hosted and undertaken by the Columbus Community Kollel. A year and a half ago, we were able to start the inaugural men's trip, and had the blessed opportunity to participate in the trip. And Charlie is a frequent trip leader for that trip, meaning that groups come from all over, literally all over the world, to Israel, spend a week of experiential learning about Israel through a Jewish lens, and he kicks it off, and he puts everything into a perspective that, quite honestly, I don't think you can get from any other trip or scenario. My brother Michael had the luck of going on in Cleveland the year before. He said, Charlie Harari is the man. And I told him he was going to go on a trip because you're going to have an awesome trip. My brother was right. It was an awesome trip. I got 2 selfies with Charlie. I got to swim with Charlie in the Arizal Mikvah. I thought our Columbus group would enjoy the Masakin Minyan, which is the sunrise minyan. I came up with the idea, and I told her everybody else we need to do it. We're on our way out the door. Charlie's like, well, I've got the perfect minyan to go to. Our group went there, had an experience of a lifetime there. Erev Shabbos on the breathtaking rooftop view of Yeshiva Torah, which looks right down at the Koso. I got one of these blue bracelets right here. It says, choose awesome. YOLA, you only live awesome. And I haven't taken it off since that trip. It's a reminder of the indelible memories, inspiring introspective words we gleaned from Charlie. You only live awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Charlie Harari.
Thank you, Joe. For the record, we did not swim in Arizal's Mikvah together. I'll start that off right. We swam in the Dead Sea together, and we went in Arizal's Mikvah after each other. So, your memories are your memories, man. It's all good. It's all good.
I have a different memory.
It's all good. I just want to make sure, just so we can make sure that 200 people don't say what they did, what. But I love you, and I appreciate your kind words, and more importantly, I appreciate the time we spent together. And I appreciate having the guys here, and appreciate what you do, what you mean, and thank you so much for your kindness and for your introduction. My favorite part was the yada yada yada. That was awesome, by the way. Thank you. It's really an honor to be here. Every time I come back to Columbus, I feel like I'm back. 20 years ago, maybe a little more, someone convinced me to get involved in this organization called NCSY. I was in college. I had no idea what it was. I thought I was going to fly to Cleveland. They put me on a bus. And I woke up like 20 hours later in Cleveland, Ohio. Never been to Cleveland before. I'm from Brooklyn. I thought you get to Cleveland from the Bell Parkway. Apparently you don't. And I met the best kids in the world. I mean, they're the best. And it was, for those who are not familiar, the Central East region of NCSY encompasses Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. And then for the next 10 years, I went to law school. I worked for a law firm, married, thank God, kids. I just couldn't stop coming back. Some of my fondest memories were in Columbus. At the highlight of them, I spent one Shabbos at Rabbi Stavsky's house. And he made me his famous drink with ginger ale and something else that probably was not ginger ale. But it's okay, Rabbi Stavsky, so apparently it's okay. And it was awesome. And we talked about life and Shalom Kabach, and I learned for the first time greatness from a man who achieved greatness. And I met some of the best people in the world. And a lot of them are the people sitting in this room, or your children, the people that you know. In many ways, as a young person, I had some of my greatest memories coming back into these regions, and Columbus was a big part of it. So when I land, I feel like in some ways I'm back home. It's an honor to be part of this incredible Siyum. What a testament to what it means to be a Jew. That we never forget about each other. That we go to our books, we go to our Torah, and we know that at the end of the day, bodies are just bodies, but souls live on forever. When something happens to people in Pittsburgh, it happens to us in Columbus and New York. So it's an honor to be here, to be part of such an incredible event. Thank you, Doctor, for what you've done, for telling us a little about your aunt, because this is how I want to open up. Some of the biggest mistakes we make sometimes is that when we talk about people that have passed away, we speak about death. King Solomon teaches us that if you have a choice between going to a party or going to a funeral home, go to the funeral home. There's no better place to learn about life than when you see when someone ends their life. We don't see death as a time in which we should be sad. You can be sad, you can grieve, but death is supposed to make us be empowered. It's supposed to remind us what life is supposed to be about. That's what I want to talk about today. What life, I think, is supposed to be about. And why Torah is so important to that. Okay, I'm done behind the podium. You know, you look around a room like this, I gotta tell you, I'm struck by how different everybody looks. I landed from New York, couldn't tell by how fast I talk. You'll get my Long Island accent in about a minute. And it's hard when you first meet a new crowd to not realize that me and you are so very different. Different backgrounds, different educations. We're probably going for different teams in March Madness, so tonight I'm a big Ohio State fan. I'll get you out way before the game starts, do not worry. And when you look around rooms like this, in almost every room you go to, when you land in an airport, it's hard to not be struck by how different people are. That's how God created us, like snowflakes. But when you live your life looking at the world from a very superficial perspective, you see just differences everywhere. But if you go one step deeper in people, you'll find that as different as me and you are, we're exactly the same. The words I use may be different. The things that I tell my spouse when I go to bed may be different than what you tell your spouse. The things that excite me when I attach it to the word or the thing may be different than you. But when you get behind what excites me and behind the words, me and you in this whole room, and frankly most of this world, is exactly the same because we all want the same thing. We are all striving for something in life, in my opinion. We want something. We want a quality of life. I believe we want to touch greatness. We know at some point it's going to be over. And when that day comes for us, we want to look back in our lives and go, you know, I had ups, I had downs. I had good days and bad days, I had wins and I had losses. But at the end of the day, I didn't live a mediocre life. I am mediocre doesn't come off my tongue because as I say it, I know it's not true. And I know here raising children, you know, the worst thing your kids can tell you is, Mom, Dad, you don't get me. I'm bad at math. I tried for 3 minutes and I can't do it. I'm a people person. Anyone get that? You're like, don't give me your people person. You're a Jew. Don't give me that stuff. You got to be decent at math. I don't think so. Sit down and do your math. He goes, no, I can't do it. Like, come on, you have 2 minutes. I went to school. I have no friend. No one likes me. As soon as you get that, your kid gets that whole, I'm giving up. As parents are like, I'm not buying that. And the kid turns to you and goes, they don't because they're too young. If they would, you would say, why do you care for it? And you would say to them, because I want you to have a great life. And you would say, well, why do you want to have a great life, Ma? And you would say, because that's what I want for myself. I may have given up on that, but I'm not giving up on you. You're my kid. There's one thing we want for our children is we want them to have a great life because that's what we want for ourselves. We are endowed with a soul that only yearns for greatness. And the question for the few minutes that I have is how do we get greatness? Where does it come from? What is the equation, if you will, that leads us, even though we're different, to great lives? So we just finished an incredible holiday. And according to the rabbis, as when a holiday leaves you, it doesn't leave you. You still feel the afterglow of the holiday. And in that holiday is one of the greatest people of all time. You know, what's great about being a Jew is that our history is filled with great people. All we have is great people. When you go to Hebrew school, you go to Jewish school, you learn about our stars. In our history, we have kings and queens, we have prophets and prophets, people that went up against the whole entire world. We've got a litany of greatness. But if you look at every single person in the entire Torah, you will find that their greatness, their lives sort of has a very similar arc. When you meet them for the first time, you sort of get a glimpse that they're going to be great. Right? When you meet Abraham for the first time, and he walks through this pit of fire, right? Or he leads his family to the promised land, you sort of get a sense that he's going to have a great career. You know what I'm talking about? You sort of want to pick him first on your fantasy league because you know he's going to be an incredible player, right? When Moses for the first time leaves the palace as the prince of Egypt and goes into the camp to see his brothers, the Jews, you sort of get his franchise. You want to build a team around him because you know he's going to have a great career. Every time you meet somebody, you sense they're going to be great with one exception. There is one person in the whole Tanakh, I believe, that when you meet them in the beginning and you meet them in the end, they're entirely different people. Anybody want to guess what I'm talking about? Yonah? Okay, interesting. I'll give you a hint. It had to do with the holiday we just had a couple days ago. Esther. Remember the story? Esther is this wonderful person. You meet her in the beginning. She comes across completely meek and completely subordinate. The Megillah says, whatever Mordechai tells Esther to do, she does. She walks around, she's an orphan, and she feels it, she feels vulnerable. She doesn't move without Mordecai's permission. He raises her, he guides her. She just says yes to Mordecai her entire life. She gets brought into the palace, and before you got to see the king, because the king had a beauty pageant for his next queen, remember the story? Before you got to the king, they put you for 12 months through an entire process of beautification. And the head of the harem was a man named Haggai. Can you imagine? Every woman that walked by Haggai said, what do you need? I got everything in the cabinet here where I work for the king. Conditioner, bronzer, foundation, what do you want? Esther walks in, she goes, what have you got? He goes, no, seriously, no, what do you use? He's like, I use nothing. He goes, what are you kidding me? Nothing? She goes, nothing. I got a friend of mine, he lives in Long Island, he has 6 girls. He says, I identify with nobody in the entire Torah except for Haggai. That's my guy. Everyone's got one. Everyone's got one guy. She walks into the king, who are you? Nobody. Where you from? Nothing. You know what the Talmud tells us? Esther was like land, like karka. Land is invisible. Nobody walks in the street and goes, oh, this is a gorgeous street. She was invisible. The Megillah opens up and you see a sense of an invisible person. And then the Megillah ends and she becomes Superwoman. I mean, Superwoman. She walks into the king's chambers at the threat of death. She outplays with perfection the king and the most evil minister, Haman, not once but twice. You ever get to fight with like a friend of yours and like we're just like we're all so non-confrontational that we can't even like call? You never get that feeling where like you call somebody but you hope they don't pick up the phone? You're like, please don't pick up. Oh, you picked up. Can I call you later when you're not available? Maybe. Can you imagine what it was like for Esther to stare at Haman? He wants to kill my people. Kill him. Can you imagine? Ahasuerus, she goes, I took care of it. Everything okay? And she goes, everything is not okay. I need another day off for Shoshan. And he goes, okay. And Ahasuerus learns early on that you can be the most powerful man in the entire world. But you will not have a happy life if you don't have a happy wife. That's a good lesson that all of us need to learn. She turns to the rabbis, make me a Megillah, and put my name on it. What happened to Esther? What happened to invisibility? What happened to subordination? She becomes the superwoman that basically takes the entire Jewish people, puts her on her back, and sails off into the sunset with Esther. What happened to Esther? How did she go from being totally meek to being a total and complete superstar? How'd she snap? So I'll tell you one story, and I'll tell you the answer, and we'll call it a night. And then we'll go about guys. So, I've got 2 different lives. I've got half a life that's this life, which I love so much. I get the opportunity, thank God, all from God to speak different places. And I do these videos on, I don't know if you've seen H.com, I do these short videos on H.com. So, years ago I did a lot more of them. And what I would do is, when I did a bunch, I wouldn't shoot a video and send it out. I don't have that capacity. I would go to Israel once a year, sit in front of a screen with like 5 different shirts and suit jackets, green screen behind me, and I would take 10 videos. And then I would leave, and then Ish would take the videos, cut it up, put images, and then they would send it out on their lists 2 weeks before the holidays come out. That's life 1. Then I have another life. I'm a businessman, I'm a lawyer, and for many years I was in-house at a real estate company. And those 2 worlds didn't really collide. I didn't go to my real estate company and make videos for like law. It didn't work out that way. So I lived in this world, and I lived in that world. And the truth is, those worlds never really connected. Until one day. I was sitting at a deal, and it was 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. And the deal that we were doing was going sour quick. And so what they called was that the team called an all-hands meeting. That meant that every party had to get into a room and basically close the deal, all together. So we all went to this suite, this law firm in New York. And everyone came, lawyers, the bankers, the sellers, and everybody got in the room and said, we're not leaving until we sign the deal. And you can imagine, if you will, a huge conference room and lawyers working and fighting. Everywhere you look are people talking and negotiating, and it's 10 o'clock, and it's 11 o'clock, and it's 12 o'clock at night, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and people are sleeping in the corners and on the chairs, and they're waking up in them, and we're literally going 24 hours because we want to get this deal signed, because it's New York real estate, and half the place is Jewish, nobody wants to have it on their heads for Rosh Hashanah. And it's somewhere around 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm negotiating a couple of terms with the guy across me, another lawyer. And all of a sudden, in the middle of my negotiation, he gets a buzz on his waist. And he picks up his phone and he gives me that look. The look of like, you've been outed look. And he goes, And I knew that look right away. He goes, is that you? I'm like, wait, tell me. He's like, I'm on Hatorah's listserv. Is this you? I'm like, no, it's not me. It's my cousin Charlie. We have the same grandfather, look exactly alike. He goes, oh, okay, hold on. Scrolls up to the bio, goes, I think this is you. I'm like, listen. And by the way, and it's just, if it couldn't have been less masculine, the title that we chose for Rosh Hashanah was, are you ready for this? For the Tina Turner fans in the room? Rosh Hashanah, what's love got to do with it? So he looks over me and he goes, I think this is you. I'm like, listen, listen, it's totally enjoyable. Hope you like the video. Hope it enjoys you. I love how I did it. But like, could we just not bring it up here? He goes, yeah, no problem. Yeah, listen, you can trust me. I'm a lawyer. Famous last words. I'm like, you sure? He's like, yeah, no problem. It wasn't a minute. If it was a minute, that was too long. A minute. He excuses himself. And he goes to the corner of the room. And my brain wasn't even processing this. I would have dove. And he goes and picks up the phone. Within 1 minute, there's a tech guy in the room. I'm like, why is there a tech guy in the room for? And then I realized why. If you can picture basically these many windows overlooking the city, slowly all of the windows all the window shades started to slowly come down. I'm like, why is he making the room dark? And then a screen, I kid you not, the size of this entire room, slowly dropping. And he says, hey everybody, we've been working so hard. And there's a holiday coming up. And one of our lawyers doubles up as an evangelical Jewish minister. Charlie Harari. Rosh Hashanah. What's love got to do with it? So the word breaks out in my firm that Charlie Harari is a minister at night. And the place goes insane. People had no idea. So the whole day I come back to the office, guys are knocking on my door. Like, I had no idea that you're a rabbi minister. Can I ask you a couple of questions? Like, why do we fast on Yom Kippur? I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Next person goes, hi, I heard that you're like a minister. He's like, can you explain to me why the Holocaust happened? I'm like, yeah, sure, yes. You have 5 minutes? What are you talking about? And then this guy's like, I heard that you're a religious man. I'm Christian. Do you do confession? I'm like, yeah, I guess. Take 2 minutes, sprinkle me in the morning. What do you do? And I'm like, guys, I love this stuff. This is my life. But I got to get my job done at the end of the day. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a lunch and learn. So every day, we're going to go down to the corporate cafeteria. For as long as this lasts, I'll go as far as you go. And about, 12:30, we'll get together and we'll do lunch and learn. Ask questions. I'll try to answer as much as I can, and we'll have a great time. And they're like, great. So for every day, we went downstairs to the corporate cafeteria. We got lunch. Everybody sat around the table. And whoever came, and they asked questions. And I tried to do my best to answer as much as I can. So during that period of time, we're all these new recruits. And there's this one guy that we wanted to get to work in our finance department. And his name was Josh. And Josh was 6'5", 250, cut like an ox. Graduated from an Ivy League school with a 3.9, played football. He was a killer. He was about to work for a firm called Blackstone. We got out to work for us. It's smaller plates. It's great. This is his first day of his starting day. And he's sitting in his cubicle, and he sees that half the place is walking out. He's like, where's everyone going? They go, well, he's got this guy, his name's Charlie, he's like a minister at night, and he's a Jew, and he gives his class and lunch and learn. He goes, I can just go? He goes, yeah, it's just great. You get to talk about faith and work. I'm like, yeah. So he goes. Josh shows up, and Josh is sitting front row. And I'm talking about God, faith, and Josh is nodding. He is smiling. I've never seen a Jew so excited about Torah. He is loving it, me every once in a while. I mean, he's just like, I love this guy. I love this guy. Finally, thing is over, and everyone's like, gets up and goes back to work, and Josh stays where he is, and he comes up to me. He's a little uncomfortable. He goes, thank you so much. I can call you Charlie, Mr. Hart. I said, yeah, of course. He goes, I can't believe I get to come here and talk about faith. This guy goes, do you mind if I come back tomorrow? I said, of course. He goes, no, I can't. I didn't say anything before it, but I'm not Jewish. I said, I know. He goes, how do you know? I said, Josh, you're 6'5". God doesn't make us that big. We're never on the field. We may have built the stadium, but we never make it to the field. We can get hit in the head, and we can be doctors. It's complicated. That's not what's for our people. Sometimes we get lucky, we get someone like Yosef in our people, and then all of a sudden we get one or two, but other than that. Of course you can come back. This isn't God. This isn't my God. This is God. You're always welcome to come back. It's okay, great. Come back the next day, and we're talking about memory. Memory is a complicated topic. This is incredible research on how memory is based on narrative, the power of the Seder, for another time. Talking about how when you're young, people do things for you. And when they do things for you, they can change you. When you're in high school, a teacher can change your life forever. You'll never forget that. And I'm a little telling over some research. In the middle, Josh, front row, hand goes up. I'm like, I didn't know this was a Q&A. Josh goes, do you mind if I give the class? I'm like, you're 6'5". You can do whatever you want. So Josh comes up, and now Josh is giving the class. And Josh tells over the best story of all time, one that I know you will appreciate. Josh tells over the best. Josh says, I was born in Texas. You never want to know what the number one religion in Texas is? It's not Christianity. What is it? Football. Because I hit my growth spurt when I was in the 6th grade. When you're 6'3", in the 6th grade in Texas, you are the Messiah. That's how it works. He said, my mom had more apple pies baked for her than any lady in the great state of Texas. Because everybody wanted to be part of my football program. Because when I got my first day to school, there was a marching band welcoming me into school my first day. Because everybody thought when I got to school we were going to win the state championships. Because but I was a mediocre football player. You gotta be a killer. It's football. And I'm not. My first year we made it to the playoffs, but we lost. Because my second year we made it to the semis, but we lost. Because in my third year we made it to the finals, and we lost. Because now I'm in my senior year. Because I want you, if you can, come back with me. Those of us here today, just for a few minutes. Let's come back with me, if you can, to Texas. August. 100 degrees, dry. Not a cloud in the sky, just one big, hot sun. And on some beautiful manicured football field in some place you never saw before, the team was coming out for the first practice of the season. And the custom of the team was, on the first practice, everybody came out in their jerseys and pads, and they lined up across the end zone. One team. And in front of them was the coach, probably decked out in team swag. And the coach is getting them ready to go. And the coach is saying, are we going to win this year? They're like, yes, sir. Are we going to dominate? He goes, yes, sir. Work hard. Yes, sir. He goes, now it's time to pick our captain. Team tradition. Because this year, the captain of the team is Josh. And everyone's going, Josh, Josh, Josh. And Josh walks up and takes his stand right next to the coach, facing the team. And the coach turns to Josh and says, Josh, we're going to win this year. He goes, yes, sir. He goes, we're going to work hard. He goes, yes, sir. He goes, are we going to retreat? No. We're going to surrender? No. We're going to work hard? Yes. He goes, okay, here's what we're going to do, Josh. We're going to show everybody just how hard we're going to work. Are you okay with that? He goes, absolutely, sir. Because here's what I want you to do. Because I want you to do a death crawl. A death crawl is when you crawl, but your knees and your elbows can't touch the floor. Yep. Pain from the first second. I want you to go, how far can you go, sir? And Josh goes, sir, I can get to the 20-yard line. Goes, can you get, apparently Josh found out this was some movie that someone sent to the coach. Maybe someone needed to see this movie to pump up Josh. How far can you go, son? He goes, I get the 20-yard line, sir. He goes, can you get to the 20, son? He goes, yes, sir. He goes, do I have your word? You will get to the 20, son. He goes, you have my word, so I'll get to 20. He goes, wonderful, get down on all fours. Josh gets down on all fours. He goes, hold on a second. He goes, Billy. Billy was the shortest kid on the team, probably the Jewish kid. Billy, come here. He goes, yes, sir. He goes, Billy, I want you to get on Josh's back. He goes, coach. He goes, I'm sorry. Because a minute ago you said you gave me your word, and I can't have a captain without integrity of speech. I expect your word to mean something. Are you changing your word? He goes, no, sir, I'm not. I'm going to get to the 20-yard line with Billy on my back. He goes, good, son. One more thing. He goes, one more thing, coach. He reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a handkerchief. He blindfolds him. And he puts on his helmet. Josh says, I saw nothing. All I felt was pain. And all I heard was, Josh, Josh. And I said to myself, I better get to that 20-yard line. The coach whispers in the ear, he goes, here's how it's going to work, son. You do not stop crawling until you hear my whistle. Does that mean you have that understood? I don't want you complaining. I don't want you crying. I don't want you huffing and puffing. Until you hear the whistle, you Don't stop. Clear. He goes, yes, sir. He goes, clear. He goes, crystal, sir. Gets him on 4. He goes, are you ready? Go. And Josh starts crawling. And he's crawling, and he's crawling, and he's crawling, and he's at the 10-yard line. And the coach goes, good job, Josh. You're on the 5. He goes, the 5? How's that possible? And he's crawling, and he's crawling, and he's crawling. Now he's on the 20-yard line, and the coach goes, good job, Josh. You're on the 10. The 10. He's thinking, did Billy holding me back? How's that possible? Never happened to anyone, buddy? Ever happened to you that when you're working out, time slows down? Anyone have this before? You ever been on a treadmill before? You know what I'm talking about? Anyone been on a treadmill? And you're jogging, and you're like, that was 45 minutes, right? Like 18 seconds? You ever have that? You know, like time slows down on treadmills and fast days. Anyone have that experience but me? Is my mind playing tricks with me? He goes, how is it possible? And he's crawling, and now he thinks, he goes, I feel nothing but pain, and all I'm doing is trying to tell my arms to move, and he's on the 30, and the coach goes, good job, Josh, on the 15. He goes, coach, I gotta be there ready. He goes, I told you, son, you should not be speaking to me. You better save your energy, because you're not even close, and you're embarrassing yourself and the entire team by your just keep on going. And he's going, and he's crawling. He's on the 40-yard line. He goes, coach, am I there yet? He goes, you are not there yet, because you hear my whistle. You better keep on going. You're embarrassing your entire family right now. And he's going, and he said, he can't feel anything. I'm full of pain. It's all black, and he's going, and he can't. He's waiting for the whistle's not coming. He's waiting for the whistle's not coming, and finally he gets over the 50-yard line, and he can't breathe, and he just collapses on the 50, thinking he didn't even make it to the 20. He said, I've never in my life felt more embarrassment. Because I rolled over and pushed Billy off. Because I laid on my back and I pulled down that handkerchief and I stared at that sun, hoping that it would blind me. I could feel my coach coming closer because I can feel him. I can feel the shadow as he blocks out the sun. And before he said one word to me, I looked up with tears in my eyes and I said, sir, I want to apologize for being such a failure. You brought me into this club, you brought me into this program to bring honor to this football team, and I brought nothing but shame. Our first year, our second year, our third year, we went home without a trophy. You've invested your trust in me, and I've returned that trust with nothing but embarrassment. And here you've given me the opportunity to be the captain of your team. First thing you're asking me is to get to the 20-yard line, and I can't even get to the 20. I am embarrassed of myself, sir. And if you want to strip me of my captainship, I would totally understand. I apologize, sir, for not even getting to the 20. And the coach looks down and says, the 20. Josh, stand up. The 20? Son, you're on the 50-yard line. And Josh stood up, and the coach told him one thing. And this one thing changed this man's life. They won the championship that year. The guy went to an Ivy League school, graduated with a 3.9 while playing football. One word from a coach on a football field in Texas. Here's what he told him. You know what your problem, Josh, is? You know what your problem, Josh, is? You were born on the 20. There are kids that'll never make a football team. I got kids practicing in their backyards their whole lives. They'll never make it onto a field. There are kids that got onto this football team. None of us see a second of playing time. You know why? Because they're not born with enough natural abilities to be on a team, to be on a field. You, my son, you were born on the 20-yard line. God bestowed you with the ability to be a football player, with the body of a football player, with the instincts, with the hand-eye coordination. You were born on a 20-yard line. And when you're born with a little bit of success in life, when you're born with a little bit of accomplishment, you know what happens? You make one of the greatest mistakes of all time. You believe that where you are comfortable is where you belong. When you're born on a 20-yard line, you feel comfortable on the 20-yard line. And when you feel comfortable on the 20-yard line, you make a mistake in thinking that where I feel comfortable, that's who I am. If you ask people, how come they're not great on it, they'll say, well, I tried this, but it's not me. How come you can't make that call? Because it just feels uncomfortable. Why can't I learn that thing? That's how I didn't come from that background. How come I can't? When you ask people, why can't you do something? Their answer is always because it's uncomfortable. I'm too old, I'm too young. I had this background, not that background. It's my wife, it's my husband. I don't know this, I do know this. I came from here. Ask somebody, how come they're not more? Why are there people in our relationships right now that don't know how much we love them? Why are we not the best that we can be? Because there's something that I can't do. How do you know you can't do it for? Because it feels uncomfortable. The way we decide what we can become is we gauge the level of comfort we have to the thing in front of us. And if something feels uncomfortable, we decide, that's not me. We use comfort as a litmus test the capability. And when you're blessed with a little bit of success, Josh, you think that you're comfortable on the 20, you think you belong where you're comfortable. And that, son, he said, is the definition of mediocrity. Mediocrity is defining who you are by where you're comfortable. Because many people in life live their whole lives just to reach comfort. The whole goal of life is to be more comfortable. But there are a few people in this world that are called great people. And great people see the exact same things but backwards. They don't see comfort as the end of the road. They see comfort as the beginning of the road. Because for a great person, where you are comfortable is not where you belong. It's where you don't belong. The only litmus test I have in life to know where I gotta go is if I'm feeling comfortable, then I don't belong here. Because comfort for great people is the starting line, not the finish line. So choose now, son. 20 or 50. Because I don't care if you get on the 50. I care about one thing. You got to make sure you're the person who takes your foot off the 20-yard line. Because if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, you can't be a leader of my team. Kids' life changed like this. What happened to Esther? Why did she become who she became? I'll tell you the story. Give me 2 more minutes. I'll tell you the story. We'll close out. Listen to this. Remember the story of Purim? The story of Purim took place in a place called Shushan, but I want you to be there just 2 more minutes. Stay with me. We're living in America right now, center of the world. Shushan was the center of the world. If God forbid we found out, as crazy as it sounds, by the way, for those who have grandparents that are still alive, you'll know this isn't as crazy as it is. But thank God, hopefully it'll never happen in our country. It's happened in countries before. God forbid we get it right now, we're sitting here, God forbid, and we find out that Washington just passed a law that in 11 months from now, any person could walk down the street and kill a Jew. That's what the law was. Haman passed the law. In 11 months, it took place in a month called Nisan. In 11 months, any person who walks down the street, sees a Jew, killed a Jew. That was the rule. It went out to the whole world. Imagine what happens right now. What would we do right now? Columbus, what would we do right now? We go nuts, no? Kids would be praying. We do tell them 24/7. We go to our congressman. We go to the senator. We get people. We go to Washington. We go insane. Guess what? It's exactly what they did. It's exactly what they did. Haman passed the law. 11 months, he killed Jews. The Jews went nuts. They protested around the palace. The kids were studying and dominating and learning. Everyone's going crazy. And Mordecai turns around and says, hey guys, listen, keep on doing what you're doing, but I got an incredible hookup. This is like Impact on steroids. I'm totally hooked in. My niece is the queen. Like, keep on doing it. I got you on the back end. And he sends a letter to Esther. And he says, Esther, I don't know what's going on in the East Wing, but on the West Wing, your husband went nuts. So can you go talk to your husband, please? Because I don't think he knows what's going on. Haman took the ring and he passed the law. Just go talk to him. You know what Esther says? What do you expect from someone who's meek and subordinate to say? What? Go in to see the king? Are you kidding me? Don't you know it's a threat of death? He didn't invite me in. I can't go in. I can't go in. You can go in. Here's some clothes. Change. You're a minister. You're important. You're a big shot. I'm a nobody. I'm a little person. I'm a nice person. I can't do this. I can't. She said this in the back. Sends back this. Can't. And Mordecai sends her back one line. It's one line. It's all it takes for great people to get turned on. One line. You know what he says there? I'll say it in Hebrew and I'll translate because you got to hear the language. It's so beautiful. My house, my kids are so sick of this that when it comes to the reading the Megillah, like their eyes roll. I'm like, listen, you don't know it enough. Here's what he says to her. Stick with me for it. He turns to her and says, you stay quiet now. Oh, don't worry, Esther. If we're meant to be saved, we'll be saved from another place. Are you ready for this? But you and your father's home will be lost. Anybody know who Esther was? She was an orphan. Is that nice to talk about her father who was she never knew? Not nice. Why did he say it for? The answer is because Esther comes from a woman named Rachel. Rachel was one of the person that sacrificed the most. Haman comes from a woman named Timnah who also sacrificed. In fact, the only people that can fight someone like Haman are people that come from the daughter of Rachel. You know where Esther came from? Rachel. And then he says the following line to her. You ready? Umiodea, who knows? Imla Ace Kazos, for this moment, he got Lamachos, you became queen. He says, Esther, are you kidding me? You can't. You can't. You can't? I'm sorry. Let me tell you who you are. You know who your grandmother was? Rachel. You don't think you got it on the inside? Do you know who she was? Oh, is it because it's uncomfortable? Let me tell you how this works. You became queen not just because. You became queen because this is the moment where you have a chance to step up for somebody else. And there is no other way to be great in life unless you're willing to be a little uncomfortable. So you choose now because you got to dig into yourself. Because inside you and inside me and inside every single one of us is not just our great-grandparents, which are great people. It's actually a piece of God himself. Each of us are built with a piece of God. And the only way that that piece comes out in our lives, the only way it comes out is if we are willing to be uncomfortable for things that matter. You can't be a great father or mother if you're not willing to be uncomfortable with your children. You can't be a great spouse if you're not unwilling to be uncomfortable in marriage. You just can't be great unless the thing in front of you demands more of you than you thought you had inside you. And every one of us knows the person that we respect most in life. If you're thinking about it, think right now as I'm talking, the person you respect most in life isn't the richest, isn't the prettiest, isn't the most charismatic. It's the person you know in your life that had challenges and stepped up anyways for you. My grandparent that came from the Holocaust and built a life in America. It's the state of Israel, of people that showed up and the entire world said, welcome to Israel. I'll give you 5 minutes to go back to Europe or I'm going to drive you into the sea. And a bunch of Jews said, we ain't never leaving again. We're back home and we're never leaving. We will do anything possible. They drew a line in the sand and said, we are never leaving our homeland again. I don't think that was clear enough. I don't care if our children die. We will never leave our homeland. That's why when you go to Israel, you can't help but be inspired by these people. This kollel is built with these people. This community is built off these people. Our nation has been built off the backs of those few Jews that stare at something in front of them and says, what's in front of me is greater than what I can do, but what's inside me is bigger. So I'm going to do it anyways because it's only through things that are uncomfortable can I tap into what's always been inside me. That's life. We wish it were easier. That's not how God made us. Great people are the people, and I wrote a book about it. I spent my whole life on this. If you look around, if you do the research, you'll see that if you look at people that have accomplished things in life, if every person has the right background, someone's got the wrong background. If every person has more brilliance, someone can't read it right. If every person has the right parents, they have the wrong parents. The only thing that everyone has in common is that great people understand that being uncomfortable is part of the process. That what's in front of me, whether I bring it on myself or God throws it at me, the challenge that stands before me, is what's going to bring out what's inside me. That's how it works. That's the equation. And Esther, being Esther, heard it. She at once. You know, she said the next word. Lech kenosis kol Yehudim. I want you to go gather all the Jews. I got this. We'll do it together. You fast, I'll fast. I'll go in there. And if I die, I'll die. But I will never sit back and play it easy again. And she soars. You know why she's so inspiring for her? Because that's the story of me and you. Me and you are Esther. Some people in this room may be Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. I'm not. I'm a lawyer. I'm the last thing from that, that's for sure. You know who I am? You know who I think most of you are? Esther. And every day God gives us a choice in the micro moments of our lives. Go in or stay back. Comfort or greatness. 20 or 50. In everything. And when we choose greatness over comfort, there's a piece of us that comes out. It's a piece of us that just was always in there. It comes to the surface and we go, I had no idea this guy could have been this kind, this giving, this patient, this strong. I had no idea. But it was always inside us from the beginning. And when you go to bed at night, even if me and you know different things we're saying, different words, that feeling is exactly the same. It's the feeling of winning or losing. I acted great today. You know why Torah is so hard? Because it's meant to be. You ever sit in front of a mission and be like, why can't the rabbis make this easy? You ever sit in front of a Gemara and be like, what am I doing here? Why do I care about a bunch of oxen? Why do I got to show up for? How come this can't be easy? You know why? Because the goal of Torah is not to learn information. The goal of Torah is God's way of hiding himself in the words in the concepts. And what he's looking for is a bunch of people that can sit around, and if it gets a little hard, they don't close it and put on something on the phone. A few people that can say, let's dig until we get it. And in the process of digging, you find something that you never knew was there before. Much more than the concept. You find a piece of yourself. And in that piece of yourself, you go, there's something about these words and these ideas that is just different than just a physical academic textbook. It's what binds us together. What's more beautiful than us celebrating people's lives by taking the book that made us brothers and sisters and spending the time being uncomfortable to uncover it in our lives? It's all about greatness. Not easy Tuesday nights or any nights to keep on going. But when you go back and fight and figure it out, I didn't have the background, no excuse. I can't read, no excuse. It's uncomfortable, no excuse. It's not who I was, no excuse. And you plow through, you find something in yourself that you know is there. And you find something in all of us that we didn't know were there. Could there be a greater way to honor someone's memory than to tell the people in Pittsburgh, we're not celebrating your death. We're not remembering your death, we're celebrating your life in our small way here in Columbus. And my blessing to each and every one of you is that whether it's in marriage or child raising or parents, taking care of parents as parents get older, whether it's in our careers, whether it's in our Judaism, whether it's in our Torah study, in how we eat, how we sleep, in every aspect of your life, may we always choose the 50. And we never settle for the 20, because that's not our destiny. That's not how God made us. He drove us and wants us to hear every single day the sound of Mordechai. Umiodea, and who knows, in La Eis Kazos, for this moment, you became prince and princess. For that kid, you know that kid? The one that we had them first, we only have one kid, you know what I'm talking about? For that kid, for that spouse, for that moment, for that second of time. And if we walk around hearing that voice, with common sense, of course, and we wake up one morning, we don't know how it happened, but something feels different on the inside. We're feeling something. And that feeling is true spiritual greatness. And then, whenever it is our time, maybe we look back and say, you know, I had ups and downs, I had wins and losses. But we can say with true confidence that I lived a great life. I left it all on the field. And I took the easy way out. And whatever he gave me, I gave back with every bit of effort that I possibly could. And then maybe, just maybe, all of us will achieve what we really want, I think. We all want together. To live a life of true greatness. Thank you very much.
Everyone get a plate to cover your face,
I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Hope you had an enjoyable evening. If you happen to have brought kids, like Charlie was talking about, you're not allowed to leave them here. So if you could please go and pick them up from the babysitting and the multi-purpose room down here around the back of the hallway, that would be great. Thank you.